Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Girl. Welcome to our latest TV talk. Today I'm talking about, is Boba Fett in Season 2 of The Mandalorian? So it was reported today by The Hollywood Reporter that sources are saying that Temuera Morrison, who played Jango Fett in Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, is reported to be joining Season 2 of The Mandalorian as bounty hunter himself, Boba Fett. And this was obviously some really big news. I think we've all been kind of waiting for this type of thing to happen. I was kind of hoping to be one of those secrets that they kept maybe, and Disney hasn't technically confirmed it yet, so it is still not a secret, but it hasn't been confirmed, so we don't know for sure this is happening. But it was reported that sources say that Temuera Morrison, who played again Jango Fett in the in Attack of the Clones, will be returning to play his son, or a clone version of himself who is Boba Fett. So for those of us who are big Star Wars fans, or even just casual ones, we know Boba Fett died in a Sarlacc pit, and we haven't seen really much since. There's been a little bit of maybe like background filled in some of the comics, a lot of EU stuff if you want to check out the legends of Star Wars Legends stories and stuff. There's lots of Boba Fett stuff there, but we haven't gotten it in the canon, and I've been really surprised at how long that Disney has waited to hold off on this, because he's always been one of these characters that's super popular just because he looks super cool. If you go watch the original trilogy, he doesn't do a whole lot, but he was still a really cool character, and they gave him a little bit more of a story too, with the story of Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, and the fact that he was this bounty hunter who was the genetic template for the clones, and then that he had asked for a clone for himself as well, who was without all the without the age enhancement, or the speeded aging, and so that's essentially his son. So Jango Fett has Boba Fett, but it's his clone, but it's his son. So yeah, this news is really interesting because it's one of those things that, again, I think since The Mandalorian was first announced itself, I think we've all kind of had this suspicion of, okay, they're probably going to make their way to Boba Fett at some point. It would be very weird to have a show called The Mandalorian and not address the one guy who ran around in Mandalorian looking armor for a while. So I'm really kind of excited for this news. Like I said, I'm glad kind of that Disney hasn't completely confirmed it, because it does leave the possibility open for other things, because he was also the template for the clones, so it's very possible that he's maybe these rumors have sparked up because Morrison's returning in Season 2. He probably is showing up in some role, but it's possible that he's going to be a clone. Now, obviously, I'm always down to see the clones. I love the clones. We just finished up the Clone Wars, so that connection would make some sense for them to bring that over a little bit, but it also would make sense for them to finally bring in Boba Fett into The Mandalorian. Well, not finally, but to bring Boba Fett into The Mandalorian. There was rumors, and people had the suspicion that we maybe saw his feet in the first season. At one point, we see a set of feet with some spurs walking up to Agent Mason, the character played by I'm so bad with names. I totally forgot to write it down. She plays May, and she's Mulan, all those fun things. But anyways, yeah, so we saw a little clip of a person walking up with shoes that have spurs on them, and some people suspected that was maybe Boba Fett, or possibly, and so it would be fun if they make some kind of connection to that, or explain it in some way. And if it was him, it would be a little bit more of a fun little Easter egg in there. But yeah, overall, I'm just kind of curious to see how they bring him in, if they're going to give him any kind of backstory, just to come up with how he got out of the Sarlacc pit. Not that to me it's never seemed like that unreasonable thing, but I guess I don't know much about Sarlaccs. I guess I vaguely remember something about you're digested for 1,000 years, but when I hear that, it just means, yeah, you die really slowly, but that means you got lots of time to get out. But so I'm curious to see what Disney will do, what The Mandalorian Season 2 will do, how far they'll go into exploring him, whether they're just going to give us I wonder if this is one of those things that they mentioned before. Actually, I only just thought of this now while I'm riffing on this, which is, what if this is them setting up kind of like a backdoor pilot? If this is them bringing in, an original Star Wars trilogy character, not one of the main trilogy, not one of the main characters, but a character from the trilogy that's huge, and bringing him in, testing him out, and then being like, maybe we'll give Boba Fett zone series. There's been rumors forever about a Boba Fett, movie and a TV series at one point. And I thought, for me personally, I thought that kind of morphed into the Mandalorian potentially. But maybe there's still a possibility that this is kind of their way of setting it up, because it is interesting to me, because I don't think he's gonna be here for the whole season next season, for the whole second season of The Mandalorian. But I'm curious how much we'll get, because if you go by the other characters we met in the first season, or that Mando met in the first season, he didn't spend that much time with any one character besides Baby Yoda, and not learning too much about any of the other characters' backstories that much. Like you're getting a little bit, but not too much. Like knowing like the one girl was former shock trooper and et cetera, but like really in-depth backstories. So I'm curious whether they'll actually, because there's no reason for the Mandalorian to ask how he survived the Sarlacc pit. There's no reason for anybody in the Star Wars that will potentially show up in the Mandalorian, because I don't think we're getting Luke, I don't think we're getting Han, or any of those characters who were actually there that day that saw it happen, because everyone else I think is dead, right? Besides our heroes that survived, I'm pretty sure they killed everybody else. They blew up the one thing, the sand floaty. God, I'm so bad with names sometimes. You guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah. So, anyways, that's just a little sidetrack thought I had, which is it would be interesting if this is a way for them to set up his own potential spin-off. And I wouldn't have that problem with it. I like Morrison, who plays the actor, besides not being sure if I'm pronouncing his first name correctly, but I do like he's been popping up in a few things. He was in Aquaman as Aquaman's dad, and I really liked their dynamic in that, and I liked a little bit of him we did get throughout the first or throughout the Clone Wars, and then a little bit of him playing the clones in Revenge of the Sith before they turn on the Jedi. But yeah, so this news I thought was really, really cool, really exciting, but again, not too surprising. But I have my reservations whether it's 100% true, whether they'll do some fun, sneaky stuff. I could see Jon Favreau doing some kind of fun thing where it's actually a clone or something like that. That would feel another explanation, to be honest. It's either he is Boba Fett or he's a clone. That's really the options in Star Wars for the most part to bring back a character, or to bring back an actor. At least I can't think of any other examples where one actor. Well, that's not 100% true. Now that I think of it, there is Warren Davis, I believe is his name, who's played a couple of characters in Star Wars. Now that I think of it. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is Boba Fett is coming to season 2 of The Mandalorian, or is he? Be sure to let me know in the comments below how excited you are about this news, whether you're hoping to see Boba Fett, whether you think he's going to get you think this is like their backdoor pilot for a potential spin-off series for for Boba Fett, not The Mandalorian. This is his show. He doesn't need a spin-off for his own show. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on this latest news from Star Wars. Be sure to let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Thanks again for joining me today. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on Star Wars stuff, I've linked my Star Wars video playlist at the end. Be sure to check that out. Thanks again for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you already, and have a good one.